So, in this module, we're talking about the impact on occupational performance as a result of complex trauma. And as we can imagine, there are significant disturbances among many client factors and performance skills. So, for example, we might see um, compromised performance skills in the areas of motor, and praxis skills, sensory perceptual skills, emotional regulation skills, cognitive skills, communication, and social skills. So if we think about how all of those client factors and performance skills are impacted, then how those in turn can impact occupation and the ability to perform those activities. And not only in addition to those performance skills and factors, we can want to consider that in addition to that, there is where the trauma potentially in the daily context. So within the home, within the school, a playground, work, um, where that happened can also impact the person's ability to engage in activity in that particular location due to the potential overwhelming reminders of the traumatic event. So, in this chapter, it really talks about, or it's more specific to the initial trauma. So, the initial trauma within the childhood. But I think we really need to consider the lifespan and if there was a traumatic event as a child, how that moves through the lifespan and continues to have an impact on occupational performance. So if we're looking at activities of daily living, personal grooming, bathing, self-feeding, sexual activity, all of these can be impacted in the moment and then across the lifespan. So there might be disturbances in bathing. If somebody was abused in a way with water, maybe, and this is very traumatic stuff. So trigger warning: if somebody had an event with a near drowning, if somebody tried to harm the child, if there was burns involved, if there was sexual assault involved with the bathing task, with toileting tasks, if withholding food was a form of trauma, then how does that impact the person in the moment and then big picture long term across the lifespan? If we think about IEDLs, if there was that childhood maltreatment, we might see those impacts on IEDLs. There might be ongoing trauma towards other people in terms of caring for others, being able to care for the home, maybe an unsafe use of firearms or, within the home situation. Health management, having these complex traumas, the person being able to manage their own health and have insight and awareness into health management. Rest and sleep might be impacted. Exposure to trauma often results in substantial difficulty with rest and sleep, with exhibitions of hypervigilance or overactivity. So that might be an area that's impacted. Education also can be impacted. Going to school, if we think back to those client factors and performance skills that have been impacted, how, and those at a cognitive level, how is education and school and work and social participation and play, how all of those areas are impacted. So this is a very difficult population to work with in those initial traumas. And I think definitely across the lifespan, but as we've been talking, we work with the whole person. So let's say you're working with somebody who had, let's say they have multiple sclerosis and they have lost ability to perform some of their daily activities, living skills, such as bathing or toileting, as a basic example, and they have this trauma in their history and they have ongoing complex trauma symptoms. And, if you are the OT who has to help provide a service and they have this trauma related to toileting, and that then triggers them to have those symptoms reoccurring because of that traumatic event, really, what does that look like as the OT? How do we work with that client? And understanding that all of those components that impact the client, and then how we help facilitate their independence and improve their occupational performance. So I hope that helps. Don't hesitate to reach out with questions.